everyone, and welcome to Sea Trade Cruise Talks, keeping up with the cruisers, entertaining community engagement. My name is Anthony, and along with Abe Hughes today, we're going to be giving you a great session here on Sea Trade Cruise Talks. A little bit about myself. My name, obviously, Anthony Richards. Extensive cruise industry experience on board with Royal Caribbean for probably just a little over a decade. And most of my time was spent as a cruise director, and which was probably the best job in the world. Following that, I moved into hotel operations, Shoreside at Royal Caribbean International offices here in Miami, Florida. And then I moved over to the revenue side, working with a vendor that was partnered up with some of the cruise lines. And now I have the privilege of working with EFFY Jewelry, also a vendor to the many multi-cruise brands in their talent acquisition department. So I'm very happy to be here and share this webinar, of course, with you all and with my good friend, Abe Hughes. Abe, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks a lot, Anthony. Yeah, my name is Abe Hughes. I'm also part of the Royal Caribbean family. I started coming up on 18 years ago, part of the cruise director staff, very similar to you. We grew up in the ranks of Royal Caribbean and also became a cruise director in 2006, was on board ships yeah, about 14, 15 years, somewhere along the way. And just recently, well, it's not so recent anymore, although it's Groundhog Day for 2020, but been almost 2 years now on the sales team with Royal Caribbean, a strategic account manager based here in the Midwest. I'm in Kansas City, and I cover Northwest Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska territories in the sales team. So I work with the travel partners in the area as well. So it's good to have me on. Thank you very much for inviting me on this. This is I think this is going to be fun.
I believe so. So thank you for being here, Abe, and thank you all for everybody else who's tuning in. So just before we do a deep dive into today's presentation, a few housekeeping notes. We will have a question and answer portion at the end of the presentation. So if you do have questions, feel free to, you can let us know along the way in the chat box, but we will have a Q&A at the end of today's session. You'll see the chat box to the right-hand screen. You can put your question there at any point, and they'll let us know the questions at the end. If you have any technical difficulties throughout the webinar this afternoon, please send a message in the chat box, once again, on the right of your screen, and we'll do our best to help. Finally, a recording of this webinar will be posted on the Sea Trade Cruise Talks website 24 hours from now. So if you have to leave, or you have technical difficulties, or you just want to watch it all over again because it's that great,
it's going to be exciting.
It is. It will be available in 24 hours on the Sea Trade Cruise Talks website, and you can revisit there. All right, that's our housekeeping notes, and let's get into it. Abe, are you ready?
I'm ready to rock.
I'm ready too, and I hope the rest of you are as well. So here we are, and we're going to be talking today and deep diving into a wonderful topic, and one that I think is so relevant, and we think is so relevant, which is why we're here today to talk about it. And that really is focusing on the cruise community engagement. And I think we can really deep dive into each component of that to start off. And then we're going to also get into really siloing out different stakeholders within the cruise community and showcase really how the last 10 months and beyond are really bringing the community together, and people are finding ways to do so in ways we really would never have done so before. And so there's a lot of positivity coming out, and I think that that's really what we want to focus on here. Now, while we get started, and you can see on the screen, we have people, and I really wanted to talk about engagement. And engagement is really and I want to talk about a macro view of what engagement, what a community, and what cruise is, and then bundle those up with a nice bow and relate it back to our community here, the greater cruise community. So engagement is a relationship with a person, a thing, or an idea that is really associated with something else. And deep down, humans, we've always had a desire to connect. It's part of human nature. It's hardwired into who we are. And not only do we desire, but we actually need engagement. And to connect and be connected with people for multiple reasons. Now, I could tell you all about this, but just to throw it back very quickly, a millennia ago, we actually, humans needed to be engaged really because it was for safety and security. But more so now, it's really about a sense of belonging to a group or being connected to like-minded people. Engagement is a manifestation of connectiveness and the feeling of connection. So, which brings me to my next point, community. Community is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. Community is the result of being connected and driven, as mentioned, by the innate feeling and desire to be engaged and connected to others. We'll do one next slide. I want to tell you, cruising. Let's talk about a cruise. It's just, there you go. How many of us miss this view? I mean, it's one of my favorite views on the ship was to go stand at the back and look out it. And really when we look at what a cruise is, and it's defined as this, it's defined as to sail about touching a series of ports. I know, very big, broad definition. So pretty simple what a cruise is. And I really think engagement, community, and cruising is very simple. And when you put all those together, all those different entities of a cruise community have really formed and remain connected around the passion for cruising as a whole. This disruption in cruising and in operation, I think, has really formed two different types of people or two different types of groups. One is a group who maybe was passionate about cruising, but with a suspension of operation, maybe they have found another way to fulfill that need, maybe found another community. But the one that we're really interested in, and the one that really I feel has grown greater over the last 10 months, is really those diehard cruise community fans, the diehard cruisers, the ones who are so passionate about our community and our industry as a whole. It's really emboldened that passion. They've almost, it's something that when it's taken away, you want it back even more. And I really feel that that's what's happened with a lot of people within the cruise community. And so what we've done here for the purposes of this webinar is, between Abe and myself, we've really tried to take a look at the holistic cruise community. And we do know that the cruise industry itself is important on the periphery. There's so many stakeholders within this industry. However, what we've decided to do is break it down into 5, what we call life rings of the cruise community that are really trying to help it keep afloat. And we'll start out with number 1 is our shoreside personnel, people like Abe Hughes. And Abe's going to dive into that one first. We have vendors, we have our travel partners, we have our crew members, and most importantly, not that everyone is not anyone is more important than the other, but we can't do it without our guests. So what we're going to do in this webinar right now is really silo out and take apart each of these life rings and deep dive into each of these topics and each of these stakeholders. And we're going to speak to it from a first-hand perspective, sharing exactly what each stakeholder is doing to engage their crew members or their employees, but also their guests as well. So
And
right now
it's
it's my pleasure to hand it over to Abe. And
yeah,
Abe, well,
oh, I was just gonna say, and it's interesting because I'm just looking at this screen, Anthony, and you and I, we have had somewhat similar lives. We've been 4 out of the 5 of these life rings. We've been shoreside employees, we have been vendors, we have been crew members, and we've also been guests on board the ships. And myself, I'll say I'm 4.5 life rings, because working so closely with the travel partners, I feel like I am one that's out there. So it's interesting that we've covered a lot of life rings over our short career in the industry. So
I don't know if I fit into any life rings currently, but we'll
yeah,
see.
that's not so much. So yeah, and so we're going to start and kind of talk. The first one, as what I'm going to speak on behalf of, is the shoreside personnel. I myself am currently with Royal Caribbean International, and I've been blessed to be part of this family for such a long time. And one of the things is, in 2020, everybody's job description essentially changed overnight. Suddenly we were not, the offices were closed down, the cruises begin to cancel, and there was a lot of question marks about what's next. How are we going to adapt? How are we going to change? And part of the leadership among Royal Caribbean is that connection. And you've worked in the Royal Caribbean offices as well there at Port Miami. The close camaraderie and the connection. It's not just a simple office job, and we're not working in those accounting firms and whatnot. It's a creative environment, and you have that energy that's often found on our ships within our corporate offices. Now myself, I am based in the Midwest, so I didn't have the office or cubicle in Port Miami, but I've spent plenty of time there. But overall, everybody found themselves similar to where I am today in a home office. Some people have had multiple challenges that went along with it. I myself, I already had my little setup here in Kansas City. I'm down in the basement, and I've got my own little office with my wife and kid upstairs. But when it comes to everyone else, suddenly it was time to adapt and how to change. And one of the things that I believe that Royal Caribbean has done, and I can only speak on behalf of Royal, but I believe it goes without saying that virtually every company involved in the industry have gone through these types of adaptations and changes, is to how do we better communicate? We're no longer in that same office together. How do we better get the information out? Because especially in early 2020, when everything began to hit the fan, if you will, things were not just changing by the day, certain things were changing by the hour. So one of the areas that Royal Caribbean had put together was something called the Daily, and the Daily itself is still to this day and a email blast that gets sent out with all the high level information of what's going on throughout throughout the company, throughout the entire Royal Caribbean group. We also found Royal leadership chats and town halls where, in a way, I feel even more connected now to our company than I had in the past, because once a week, every other week, we'll be having these town halls directly with Richard Fain, our chairman and CEO, along with the entire executive leadership team. And Michael Bailey himself does these Royal Caribbean leadership chats where he engages every single employee that's out there and answers the questions firsthand and keeping everybody up to date. And then, of course, we have the wonderful technology that was there before the pandemic, but it has certainly become even more popular through Zoom and webinars and everything else, where I just threw up a quick little shot of a little Christmas gathering, a little Zoom Christmas gathering that we had over the holidays, celebrating and whatnot. There's been a lot of creativity in order to adapt with our, and I hate this term, but the new normal, because it's not normal, and it will hopefully be old at some point in time when we get back to our regular lives. But it's just these ways that the Shoreside community and the Shoreside personnel have done a great job of connecting everyone and not feeling so much isolated at home, but keeping everybody together as one. And oftentimes, just in closing from the Shoreside aspect of things, myself being a home base and things like that, I've had a lot more of these one-to-one chats through the internet and through Zoom and through WebEx and through GoToWebinars and things with folks that I wouldn't normally talk to face to face. So in a sense, although we were not one-to-one or face-to-face before very often, I find myself a little bit more engaged with everybody in the company, and I feel much closer to them for that.
Great, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And when you really look at the use of technology and the connection that's happened, I mean, I think we're going to see it across the board here too. In a sense, we really are, in a lot of ways, more connected than we were ever before. We also have a lot of time on our hands.
No commute. It's good.
No
it's
commute.
good.
That's right. All right. So thanks, Abe. That was great. And remember, if you do have questions along the way, you can type them into the chat box, and we will have at the end of the presentation some Q&A time with Anthony and Abe. Now, we're going to move over into crew engagement. And this is something that was really near and dear to me. And it came to me, actually back in October. I'm lucky enough to live in Miami. We live in Miami Shores, and I'm lucky enough to drive along the MacArthur Causeway and look at the ships that are in. I've always found cruise ships to just be magnificent, creations anyway. And I think that's why I was drawn to the cruise industry when I was in my young professional life. And so oftentimes I'll go by and I will drive by just to see the ships, see what ships are in. And the Navigator of the Seas back in October had been in, and it was sailing back out of the cut to go back out to sea and probably to Coco Cay or wherever. And I took a video of it as we drove by, and I posted that video to my Facebook. And within about 24 hours, I had 1,400 views on just a simple Navigator of the Seas leaving port. And I would say that over 90% of those comments and views were from crew members who were sharing thoughts about, oh, I used to work on Navigator. I met my wife on the Navigator. I loved cruising on the Navigator. I did my first contract on Nav. Whatever it was, I really realized that there was this large group of people within the cruise community that really were spread out around the world, were waiting on the edge of their seat, literally, to get back into cruising and get back into working, but they were starving for that connection and information, and again, that what we go back to engagement, that sense of belonging and feeling that safety and security of their fellow crew members. And so one night I came up with an idea of creating a social media platform that I called now the Crew Area. And the intention of the Crew Area was really to have a fun platform that was engaging, interactive, and entertaining. Even came up with our own logo that was designed by my brother-in-law, the skull and the bones. But we're very active on Facebook. We're very active on Instagram. We do have our Twitter handle. I've got a website I'm trying to develop with it. The whole intention is to really keep this crew community around the world informed, engaged, but do so in a fun way that we can really, enjoy what we're bringing to people. And just a few things that we do on the Crew Area, you can see there. We started doing something called Inside the Porthole. It's a crew interview series, and you can see it's a very popular thing. I haven't done as many as I would like because it takes some time to do, but it's an excellent way to showcase people within the cruise industry that are really, I want to showcase people who have climbed the ladder from a shipboard perspective. So hopefully give some crew members out there who may be in a more junior position, show them that they can actually become a cruise director. I was a U staff. A cruise director is not a normal thing for me. There are hotel directors that started off as busboys. I mean, there are career paths out there for crew to really grow and develop themselves professionally. In addition to that, we would do questions of the day. So, your favorite port, name this port. We will do where are you at Wednesdays, and we are looking for people to let us know where they're at, what they're doing, share pictures, coffee and conversations. I love to host these. I like to just hear from crew members, hear their questions. I love to talk about cruising, the cruise industry. I don't know all the answers, but I love talking about it and then trying to find them out and stay informed. And because I also believe that the more we're informed, the better perspective we can have when formulating when we may come back into service, and you kind of will have a better, more confident feel about the industry as a whole. In addition to this, we also do a few other things on the Crew Area. We have some cruise industry news. So I try to keep it almost like a LinkedIn for crew. So I want people to, if I see cool cruise news, I want to post it on there to make sure people are staying up to date and informed as much as possible. Also, I do cool videos. So sometimes if I'm bored at home, I'll go on to marinetraffic.com. You can see there, and it's a great website that shows you where all the ships are at any given time. So I'll literally sit there with my phone and I will just hover over each of the blue ships there, and it'll let you know what ships those are, where they are, and where they're going. And also, I love doing events. We love doing crew trivia. I've got a few DJs that are going to be lined up to do a crew party, a virtual crew party at some point. And then one of my favorite things to do is doing what we're doing now. We're talking live to actual people who are listening to us, which we love, right, Abe?
Absolutely.
So one of my passions is to go down to the MacArthur Causeway and show once a week a live view of the Port of Miami, see what ships are in, what are they up to, and give a cruise industry update live on the crew area, which you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram. So spread it around amongst your friends. It's not only for crew, it's also for everyone who's interested, but it's crew focused. So that's really, and you look across the board, there's a lot of other great platforms for crew to remain engaged, but this is one that I really think that is a great platform for crew members to follow, and they can always rely on fun events, great information that's accurate, and and just engage with each other. That's really it. So that's the crew area, and hope that I give you some insight there. Abe, where are we going
Travel
next?
partners. We're going
Ooh,
travel partners.
right.
Travel partners, travel agents. Travel the term travel agent has very much changed over the years to travel partners because of the partnership that they truly have with the various vendors and cruise lines that are out there in the world. And also travel advisor is a much more accurate term versus just an agent because the expertise that travel advisors have are really phenomenal just based on the fact that they know the products, they know our products from their own personal experiences, and it's much more they're much more engaged with the client base themselves. And the one thing to really remember and to think about from a travel agent perspective is the fact that our travel partners themselves, the vast majority, I don't know the percentage, but I'm going to say 90% plus, they're small businesses. And they're small businesses that are based all throughout the United States, Canada, all throughout the world for that matter. And if you think about the impact that small businesses have had over the last year, it's been unbelievable. And it's devastating in a simple word, just simply because of the impact that this pandemic has had. And one of the areas that we know that we want to continue to stay engaged with the travel partner community, simply because our companies have grown to the size that they have because of our travel partners. And we know that on the rebound and the comeback is on, it will also be relying heavily on our travel partners. So there's been another shift in a way of keeping us engaged in this way. And again, I'm speaking on behalf of the Royal Caribbean group, but I know that there's many companies that have been doing essentially the same. But staying number one, thankfully, Royal Caribbean, we've kept our sales team intact and our trade marketing team intact in order to help and support our travel agent community that's out there. Our strategic account managers like myself throughout the United States are out there, and we engage on a daily basis with all of our travel partners out there. Also, when it comes to the leadership side, remarkable things have happened. As a matter of fact, our senior vice president of sales and trade support. Her name is Vicky Freed. She hosts every single week, every Wednesday, with exception to a week off for Thanksgiving and a week off for Christmas and New Year's, and then last with the Wednesday with the inauguration. Those are the only weeks that she's taken off. 41, I believe, is the number. Coffee talks. She sits down with all of our travel partners throughout the United States and Canada as you have your own coffee, and she has coffee. And every single week, I think the average itself is around 3,200 travel partners tune into this webinar every single week. And number one, it's a testament to the leadership of Vicky, simply because she wants to make sure everybody stays up to date. And it also, with that number of people that tune in every single week, goes to show you how connected the travel agent community is to the vendors out there. And Vicky every week doesn't just talk about the the latest updates that's happening, but every week she also has guest appearances. And these special guests themselves have ranged from, of course, Richard Fain, chairman and CEO, Michael Bailey, the president, um, various folks that would talk about accessible staterooms and offerings at sea, or fun ones such as Nick Weir, senior vice president of entertainment, comes on and talks about entertainment, and they've done specials with kids programs. And myself, I was actually featured on Vicky's Coffee Chat as well. So from Richard Fain to myself, Richard got a lot more viewers than I did, but we still had several thousand people that were tuned in and listening and staying engaged along the way. And speaking of Richard, I mean, this man is the chairman of the Royal Caribbean Group. He himself has done remarkable things to stay connected. Number one, every couple of weeks he comes out with a video that he posts, and it's out on YouTube, and you can see these updates. And the updates themselves are just as honest and matter of fact of where we are today. There's not a lot of fluff to them, and there's not a lot, but his guidance has every single time that I watch his videos and his updates, I get excited because it may be you may have a sense of like, oh my goodness, is this ever going to end? And you listen to it, and although it's not all sunshine and butterflies, he definitely gives a very honest perspective um, of of where the industry is and where we're going. And just before the holidays, and I'm going to definitely paraphrase this, it made a lot of sense. And actually, I did a little calculation before this webinar. He was mentioning is early December or so, said, the days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter leading up until the winter solstice, and that's the shortest day of the year. But remember, from that point moving forward, our days are going to get brighter. And actually, since the winter solstice to today, right now, we've gained back about 40 minutes of daylight each day. I mean, before, and I'm here in the Midwest, a little further north than you, Anthony, but it was coffee is done and then the sun comes up, and I would still be in my office and the sun would already set. And now it's the opposite. The sun's up as I'm waking up, and the sun is still out, or the sun is, well, it's still a little bit bright when I'm finishing up work. And the days are going to continue to get longer. The days are going to continue to get brighter, and that's sort of where where we're heading in this entire pandemic. So those inspirational words and that just honest points of fact with Richard have been wonderful to keep everybody up to date. And then also, Richard has taken the time to sit down with the travel partners themselves and do one-to-one interviews and updates. And I just did a quick little screenshot of one of my accounts here in Kansas City. It's an agency called Cruise Holidays of Kansas City. And Richard took the time and sat down with the owner, Mark Comfort, and talked about the industry. And this was right there I think it was right there in the new year, and it's just it's a testament to his leadership and how important it is to stay engaged with the travel partner community as well.
Well said, Abe. I think it's very clear how important travel partners are for our entire industry to get back. I think every major cruise brand as well realizes that, and thankfully so. So we are definitely dependent on that special group of people to get the other special group of people back on board ships across the world as quickly as we can when it's safe to do so. But travel partners are just extremely important to us. Now, we're going to shift gears and switch over to vendors. And our vendors are obviously people or companies that work alongside, they're a partner with the cruise brands, and in some cases, exclusive to some brands, or in others, they work multi-brands, obviously, across the fleets. So, and this is actually, in the silo that I'm in right now, this is my life ring, because for the past 7.5 years, I've been working alongside in a vendor company. There was a revenue center for Royal and Celebrity with Royal Media Partners, where we would oversee the port shopping. And now I'm currently working with what would be considered another vendor, which is EFFY Jewelry, which I'm going to dive into in just a minute. But really, vendors are so important because they provide a lot of services to the ship. And they've really been forced also to come up with a way to not only keep their doors open, but to keep their crew members, their trained professional crew members within their ranks. But then on top of that, try to keep the customers that are almost exclusively cruise guests, their customer base engaged as well, so they don't lose them moving forward. And I really wanted to focus on two, and one is Park West Galleries. And one of my good friends is featured there in the shot. His name is John Block. He's the executive vice president of Park West Galleries. And the reason we're talking about that is because Park West is across multi-brands of cruise ships. They have an extremely loyal base of cruisers and clients at Park West. John, I worked with on board as an art auctioneer, and John is a smart cat. John realized back in April, after just a very short time of not having, when everything kind of paused in March, he realized in April that he had to do something. And to his credit, he helped develop an online auction system for Park West, and they were able to continue to engage their cruise guests or their cruise clients coming from the cruise, and also keep a lot of their people employed and even featured on online auctions. So he came up with a whole software system to develop for online auctions, redid some distribution and logistics to get great pieces in, and really, Park West has not really only just survived; they thrived in this current model because of John and because of that out of the box thinking. But to his credit, it only came about because of the necessity of it. Of that, if cruises had continued, maybe he would have never had to have thought of this. But in order to keep the doors open, keep his crew members, and I call them crew members, but keep his employees that are cruise based, in the ranks, as well as keeping his guests engaged, he had to come up with something, and he did alongside his team. And that's why I wanted to talk about him here. And then moving on to the current company I work with, is an outstanding company, EFFY Jewelry. I'm not here to talk to you about jewelry, but I am here to talk to you about what they're doing specifically, and what they've done to not only also survive, but to keep their employees in place. And I'm talking shipboard employees here. And also, what they're doing also to keep their Shoreside team and their business afloat, really. And so they also found themselves in a very similar situation. EFFY is lucky because EFFY is a little bit more diversified in terms of they have 2,600 retail locations around the US. They are the largest US-owned family jewelry manufacturer, but they just have a massive presence in the cruise industry, obviously in ports around the Caribbean, Alaska, but more specifically on board. And they employ a lot of people on board cruise ships. And I'm talking hundreds upon hundreds of people that I'm now in charge of looking for new talent. So if you know anyone who's gonna be great, let me know, help me out, make me look good in my first few weeks at EFFY. But that being said, and the more importantly is, how do we keep these folks from losing their job and having to go somewhere else? They're a great talent. And this is only EFFY, and what I'm talking about here between Park West and EFFY is only a small example of what many people are doing, from what I'm hearing. But they had to come up with something to keep everyone engaged, to keep the doors open, and then to have everybody ready to come back when we do come back in service. So here's a few ideas that they came up with. They do an EFFY Jewelry online. You see Anthony and Jenna there sitting at their desk. That's an EFFY Live. They do that a couple of times a week. They showcase some jewelry. They do jewelry sales. So, that is one revenue source for them, but it's a way for them to keep moving forward. So they've done a wonderful job there. They've also diversified, and you can see something called Inside the Vault, where they're literally broadcasting from inside a vault in New York City, Diamond District, showcasing high-end pieces and new additions, and really driving the online business to their loyal cruise guests. Now, just like a lot of places, EFFY has a very loyal cruise guest following on top of others who aren't cruisers, but we're talking over 2.2 million followers right now just on what we're doing here. So you can see that they're really doing just a wonderful job of keeping them engaged. And because they've been able to do this, they have been able to not only keep all their doors open, EFFY has actually been able to expand into new cruise brands, and they're growing their shoreside team, hiring people like me. And I'm not afraid to say I was affected by the pandemic. I was out of work for 6 months, but because of initiatives like this that EFFY is doing and other companies, they're creating employment opportunities. And here I sit before you as a living proof of that. And I'm now responsible for the talent acquisition globally for EFFY Jewelry. And in addition to growing their shoreside team by the introduction of these wonderful events, which you can see on Facebook, but they've also been able to maintain and keep a lot of their employees from their shipboard teams. And you can see them here. That's actually a picture of our very first Zoom call of 2021. We have over 234 EFFY employees on that call, and this is us re-engaging them for the new year. It's called Ignite, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing this year. We are getting ready for the return to service. We're engaging them through weekly trainings. We just finished one right before this webinar. I was on a training about perspective. Last week it was about sales and confidence, and it's always about personal improvement. We also do a Wellness Wednesday. We do a Spotlight Saturday, where we're really featuring things all about our employees and about who are crew members on ships. And I think that's really, really important to do for our vendors. And I know many other vendors are doing it, but these are two outstanding examples of ways that they are not only surviving, they're thriving, they're growing. Most importantly, they're maintaining their crew members, their employees. And to me, that's a truly a big success story. And I felt that it's definitely worth a shout out and a mention here on this platform. So, and I'm sure there's many other wonderful examples out there that are happening, but these are two that are closest to me. So I thought I wanted to share those. And I think that covers vendors. And of course, if you have questions, make sure you type them down. We'll get to questions after. But Abe, I think this takes us to the final life ring, but perhaps the most important life ring of all, the people that make our entire industry run, our wonderful guests. And Abe, you've done an outstanding job in an initiative starting way back when the whole pandemic started, and it's been extremely popular. And you have some of your guests are on here right now watching this. Some will watch more of it, maybe not live, but kudos to you for this. And I'm going to let you tell everybody else, what have you done?
Yeah, well, hey, our industry wouldn't be where it is if our ships sailed empty, right? And you know, there are tens of millions of people that sail on board cruise ships every single year, and suddenly 2020 came about and nobody could cruise anymore. What happened? And we found, obviously, the loyalist of cruisers from all brands were just reaching out and just what's happening, what are we doing, I'm missing you, I can't wait to get back on board, I miss the ship, I miss the food, but most importantly, they miss the crew, they miss the family that they've grown over the course of
Your community.
their community. Exactly. And it truly is a community out there. They miss their fellow guests that oftentimes they meet and they cruise together. And so it started early. I am not going to take all the credit for what I personally did. But just to give you a short story about it, there was early, and it was right around that March time, there was like an Australian couple that went viral because they were in bathrobes, I believe, in front of their TV, watching a TV with a ocean passing by, and they were in lounge chairs pretending like they were on their balcony. Basically, that was the concept. It went viral. It was funny, it was cute, it was really tongue-in-cheek, like they're missing their vacation, but here they are in their own house. And there was a travel agent down in Texas that I caught wind that was going to do something similar for their small client base. And my boss actually said over a Zoom call, she's like, Abe, this is right up your alley. And I thought, this would be fun to do. As a former cruise director, you and I believe, and many former and current cruise directors will all be on the same page and say that cruise director best job in the world. I think that it's as a position, it's the best job in the world. But there's only one place to be a cruise director, and that's on a cruise. So if you're unless you wanted to work and retire as a cruise director and things like that. But in my particular case, in my wife's case, our family's case, we wanted to grow our family. We wanted to get back to land. We wanted to, we wanted to turn the chapter on that part of our life, as great as it was, and create a new chapter and new memories. So I always thought the only place to be a cruise director was on a cruise. Au contraire, you can actually do it virtually. So what happened? I posted on Facebook, and I had a very small following on Facebook when I was a cruise director, where some guests would follow me, and I'd post random things, and it was like memes and just stupid things. But one day I said, "Hey, who wants to go on a cruise starting on Sunday? Join me here." So I created a cruise compass. And I began to post things throughout the day as if right there on Facebook there. And it all started on day one. You'll see March 22nd. So it was 9 days after the global, when everything stopped. March 13th is when that happened. Friday the 13th. Huh, who'd have known? But I wrote, "Hey, welcome aboard Virtual the Seas. Great to have you. See the attached cruise compass for an outline of events. Post your welcome aboard photos in the comment section below. I'll see you at boat drill." That's all I posted. There were 1,300 comments. It was shared 725 times. And what happened, I knew immediately that this thing was like, oh, this might take off, because everybody started posting their boarding day photo. Now, in my mind, I thought the boarding day photo was going to be a selfie of them in their living room or out shoveling snow, because it was March 22nd. I didn't know. But suddenly people began posting their actual photos from their ships, because everything's on your phone, right? But you don't just go to one particular photo. You start scrolling and you start going through all of your cruise photos to find that one perfect one that you're going to put out for the entire world to see. And then people started actually posting photos from way back when. There were welcome aboard photos here. I mean, this is the 80s, the Song of Norway and the Nordic Prince. And well, you can tell by the attire. And welcome aboard photos with the families. So people started really following this. And every day with these activities, I post various things. And just to give you a short glimpse, and I know that there's some kid in Canada that unboxes toys and gets 13 million views. I get that. I'm not that. But we were engaging, and there were these posts were reaching upwards of 100 to 250,000 people. This was the top 6 posts in the first couple of weeks. So it's silly. It was a silly idea that was planted into my head. But just to give you an idea, we would do. I would post cruise compasses, and I'd create these all myself. It took a lot of time with that. But I'd post these various activities. We do trivia challenges, and every day is a holiday. So it was like National Go Fishing Day, and there would be like National Cheeseburger Day and all that fun stuff. One that I did, and I loved this one because it was we did a destination bingo, and I just threw a bunch of destinations up on the screen and said, "Hey, mark the box if you've been there, and hope you get one line in any direction." And Eileen wrote in and says, "No bingo, but 37 cruises worth of great memories." And I thought that's perfect.
Cool.
And these are the folks that just love cruising and want to be part of it. As a matter of fact, I also got an interview with Michael Bailey, the president and CEO of Royal Caribbean. I thought that made it a little bit more legit, because I sort of went rogue and cowboy by doing this. I didn't have permission, but it's better to what is it? Beg for forgiveness than ask
Beg for
permission.
forgiveness, then ask for permission.
Exactly. But over the course of, it was basically from March and through till July, we were doing Virtual of the Seas, and Royal Caribbean's marketing team also got picked up on the on this concept, and they were posting on the official Royal Caribbean page, which grew my following even greater. And again, it's not into the millions, but there's about 20,000 people that started following me on Facebook, and now we've transitioned a little bit. We have a group called Dreaming of the Seas. It's the second ship of the virtual class series. But because I was taking literally 2 hours a day creating content and compasses and postings and everything, I do have a toddler that was getting a little bit more rambunctious, and my wife is like, okay, we need to, and she was very involved as well, but it was like, okay, we we need a couple hours back a day. And so I'm not staying up until midnight working on things for the next day and having my full-time job BT
Not to
dubs.
mention.
But we created Dreaming of the Seas, which is a private Facebook group, but everybody's welcome to join. And in the Dreaming of the Seas group, that's where everybody is able to communicate with each other. And they're creating their own activities and they're creating their own fun things. So it's fun. And I do Facebook Live videos as you would with the cruise area, but it really just did show you how much connection there is in the community. So it looks like we got about 15 more minutes left, Anthony, and I think we do we have time for some questions? I know you have something in store for me, some trivia. Are you going to put me on the spot for trivia?
Yeah, I am, Dave. I am. I'm going to put you on the spot for trivia because we're going to do a quick. We have just under 15 minutes left. We want to get to questions, so I'm not going to rush this, but I am going to move through it. Going to put you on the spot, Abe, with some trivia. And I just thought it would be fun, especially for our viewers. How can we do something on engagement when we're not even engaging the people who are watching us right now? So it's cruise trivia time with Abe and Anthony. Abe is seeing this for the first time. I came up with the questions, and Abe, we'll see how you do. And the guests can go ahead and, or the viewers can go ahead and, you can type your answers in the chat boxes or just say them out loud, whatever you want to do. 10 questions, general cruise industry trivia. Abe, are you ready?
I'm ready to go. All right.
Last week, Royal Caribbean Group sold this brand from their portfolio for a reported $201 million to a private equity firm in New York City. Name this cruise brand.
I do know this, and I found out through the daily post that gets sent out through the Royal Caribbean Group. So I do know this. I want to give it an extra 3 Mississippi so everybody can type in their answers.
This is kind of not fair for you. I should have thought of this, and you would have obviously an inside track, but I picked questions that are current events, current things that are happening right now. If you had to take a guess, Abe, what would you say this brand would have been?
I'm going to say Azamara. A wonderful
Azamara Cruises is correct. Ding, 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 ding.
I think I'm 1 for 1. This is keep everything about the Royal Caribbean Group. I think we'll be good.
And a fun fact is they have recently purchased the Pacific Princess, the original Love Boat, from Princess Cruise Lines to make their fleet a total of 4. So that's where the Pacific Princess went this week. So there you go. Great.
Alrighty.
Question 2. This industry leader recently accepted delivery of the first of 2 vessels that are powered by liquid natural gas from Meyer Turku in Finland. Not only is this great for the environment, but the ship's name just exudes the brand's nickname for their ship. Fat Tuesday, anybody? Name the ship, name the company. Boom.
I also know this one, which is good, and Again, thank you to my wife being from New Orleans. I know that obviously Fat Tuesday and the holiday that surrounds it, giving an extra 2 Mississippi, 1 and 2. If people are typing in their answers, I believe the answer, Anthony, is Carnival Cruises and the Mardi Gras.
Very good, Abe. It is Carnival
2 for 2.
Cruises and Mardi Gras. And a lot of people make a mistake, I heard. Fun fact. The ship's name is Mardi Gras, not Carnival Mardi Gras. So a lot of people think it's Carnival Ecstasy, Carnival Fascination, Carnival Mardi Gras. Nope, just Mardi Gras. So you nailed it. Good job.
Just Mardi Gras. All right.
Well,
I think the original was Carnival's very first ship the Mardi Gras, or Carnival Mardi Gras. I want to say.
Are you putting me on the spot with trivia now?
I'm throwing it right back at you. All right.
Well, I'm like Judge Judy. I ask questions. I don't answer questions, okay?
All right, Judge Judy. Let's go.
All right. Founded in Norway in 1968, this cruise brand is an industry leader in onboard attractions, including bumper cars, ice rinks, flow riders, zip lines, amongst many other cool offerings. What brand is this? Hint, I'd love to see Queen Elizabeth on the Abyss slide, or high above on the North Star? I have a feeling you
Well,
didn't get this one.
yeah, I think I might. If I don't, I do not
I
deserve
wanted to make you look good up front. That's really what it is, because our
it.
questions
Okay.
maybe get tougher, so I want to make you look good up front.
Two more Mississippi, 1 and 2. That's got to be Royal Caribbean
Of course,
International.
it's Royal Caribbean. Who else does flow riders, zip lines, and other fun things? I mean, there's so many things when I made this up that I wanted to include that are so obvious, but it's really impressive what this brand has done with onboard offerings. Amongst others, though, many cruise brands have great things. Here we go. Setting sail this weekend from Genoa. This cruise brand has returned to service. The industry is watching its successes closely. Bonus points for the ship name, Abe, and fellow viewers. Did anybody hear about this
I
one?
know,
You probably heard
I know the
it.
line, and I'm just trying to think of the ship itself.
It's in Europe.
All right, 1
Beautiful ship.
and 2 Mississippi.
Big ship.
Okay, the line is MSC. I
Yes,
do
very
know
good.
that. And for the bonus point, and I can rarely ever say the names because they're all in Italian.
Hey.
Is it the Mervila Mervila
No, no,
No. What do
no.
we
It is the MSC Grandiosa.
Grandiosa. Okay.
Grandiosa making
Yeah.
a grand entrance
The
back to the
Grandiosa.
Mediterranean on January 24th. Very happy to have some ships back in the water, of course, and more to come from MSC, so look out for them. Moving on, this freestyle cruise company named the inaugural winner of American Idol, Kelly Clarkson, the godmother of their newest vessel. I'd say that's appropriate that she's received multiple Grammys and other awards, certainly deserving of an encore. What do you think, Abe? You're a Kelly Clarkson fan. You're a big K Clark fan, I heard.
Oh yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah, right?
Hello. Back when American Idol was awesome. Is American Idol even still on? I have no idea.
I don't know.
All right, 2 Mississippi, and I'm gonna have to say Norwegian Cruise Lines,
Yeah,
NCL.
again, I would say you are correct. Good job. The Norwegian Encore, Norwegian Cruises. That was good. I think I gave it away with freestyle, at the top.
Yep.
Also,
Yep.
Abe, I heard you do a great freestyle rap. So if you want to have the platform, go for it.
No, not today. I just don't feel it. I don't feel it. I only do that after midnight on
Okay,
Saturdays.
fine.
Yeah.
We'll wait for the late night Sea Trade talks.
All right.
Founded in 1873 and directly involved in the transport of hundreds of thousands of immigrants from Netherlands to North America back in the day, this company has always given a damn.
I think that this one's going to be a fairly easy one. We'll let a couple of viewers to type that one in. You're definitely giving away the answers within. If you would have just said 1873, directly involved with the transport of hundreds of thousands of immigrants from Netherlands to North America, I may have had to take a guess, but because they always give a damn, I'd have to say Holland, America.
Holland, America. Very good. Yes, good job, Abe. Good job, everybody out there, too. That's Holland, America. Hey, listen, I didn't want to make the trivia tough because then I would be really alienating people, too. And it's all about engagement. I want everyone to feel it. Here we go. Next one. You may or may not see anyone famous on this cruise line, but they could take you to the edge and beyond.
I also know this one. It is our sister brand, Celebrity Cruises.
That is correct. Very good, Abe. All right, we just have a couple questions left, and I do see that we're going to let you all know that we're coming close to time because we do have a hard wrap at an hour. But we want you to send your questions via email, and then we can Abe and I will answer them. So you can send them via email, and Abe and I will answer them. Absolutely, we want to make sure we have time to do that. Here we go. Originally known as the Magical Cruise Company, this cruise line has greeters who welcome guests with oversized white gloves fashioned after their cartoon icon.
That's funny. I'm like, Magical Cruise Company Limited? Who?
That sounds like a bunch of terrible cruise directors getting together and starting a cruise line.
Yeah. No, I think that would be Disney.
That would be Disney Cruises. Well done, Abe. Very good. Yes. All right.
Thank
we
you.
have two last questions and wrap up. And I see that Roz is letting everyone know, please send your questions there because we really want to be able to answer them. We wanted this to be, you know, engaging and interactive, and we want to be able to give you our answers directly from Abe and myself. Incorporated in Bermuda, headquartered out of California, Jan Swartz heads up this amorous brand.
Princess Cruises.
Princess is correct. Very well done.
Right.
Princess is correct. They're known as the Love Boat, obviously, and romantic. There we go. Boasting a title of cruise capital of the world, this port saw major infrastructure investment from Royal Caribbean Group, Norwegian Cruises, or Cruise Lines, and Virgin Voyages recently. What is the cruise capital of the world?
This is the only time that I've gotten a perfect score on trivia, even though I didn't get the extra credit. Port Miami.
Port Miami is correct. Way to go, Abe. We're seeing a lot of great investment in the Port of Miami, which really means that cruising is coming back strong here. And that just means great news for the entire industry. When you're seeing dollars like this, $150 million going in for that terminal for Virgin, multiple hundreds of millions for Royal and also for Norwegian, amongst others that are going to be investing there. That just shows you that the industry is poised for a great comeback, that companies are investing. They're investing in their infrastructure, in their people, in their products, and looking forward to welcoming guests back very soon. So as mentioned, the Q&A with A&A, which is Anthony and Abe, or Abe and Anthony, we're going to get you to email those into Seatrade Cruise Talks at informa.com, Seatrade Cruise Talks at informa.com. Please send them in there. We would love to answer them, and then they'll be shared back up, I'm sure, on the social media so everyone can see it. But please go ahead and send us your questions because I think it's really, really important. Abe, any final words from you? We have like 1 minute.
No, thanks for putting this together. I had a good time. I think engagement has always been at the core of everyone's heart, obviously, and staying connected. And one of the things I think, you know, overall, the world needs travel. It's how we connect. It's how we share experiences. It's how we connect as a culture. It's how we share our cultures. And there is no doubt in my mind that we'll be back sooner than later. I don't think that we're obviously not at the end, but I think we're all in agreement that we're at the beginning of the end. And as things continue, we're really looking forward to seeing everyone back on board. And thanks again, Anthony, for having me part of this.
Great, and thank you for being part of it, Abe. Thank you to everybody who tuned in today to watch us. Thank you to Seatrade for allowing us to bring this to you. We hope you found it insightful. We hope you found it informative. Let us know your comments. Please send some emails to us with questions or comments. We love to hear feedback. We love to answer your questions and know more of everything. But more importantly, we really appreciate you spending an hour of your day right here on Seatrade Talks with Abe and Anthony. It's our pleasure to have been delivering this information for you, and we hope that you enjoyed keeping up with the cruisers, entertaining community engagement. Have a wonderful day and stay tuned. This will be put up live again or recorded in 24 hours. Have a wonderful day, everyone.